So I wanted to talk about the seemingly inherent existence of pizza. I don't know how many times when I was living in Denver that I had, plenty of stuff to eat in the fridge, but the thought of pizza, oh, it sounds so good, have to have it. Creating this, permanent idea of wonderful pizza in my mind, and driving, of course the best pizza place was 30 minutes away, you know, going through traffic, probably getting irritated most of the time, because these people are keeping me from my pizza, and then I get the pizza finally, and either I take it home and then it's cold when I get home, or if I eat it there, I have this memory of at one time that the pizza was just right, but it's rarely that good as that memory, that permanent memory in my mind. And or I might say it was good, and then I overeat. I could eat like a 12-inch pizza, and then I'm stuffed, and then I'm satisfied because I'm full. And then I drive back home, probably irritated because I'm full. And then I also wanted to talk about two situations where thinking of myself as permanent, and how that really got me in trouble. And they were both driving. And one time years ago, I was driving on the freeway, and some guy and his girlfriend were moving in and out of traffic, and I just couldn't say, oh, they're just trying to be happy, or what? Who is the self? Who's the Shane or the Selden that's so irritated at this? No, I had to, give him the bird, flip him off, and then for miles followed me. I tried to lose him, got off in an exit, got to a stoplight, and he got out of his car and punched out my window and was trying to hit me. And another time, I was driving home from work, and this guy was just being really kind of a jerk, just honking at people, being really irritated. And I thought, oh, I did this. So I thought, oh, I'll show him. I did this passive-aggressive little thing where I kind of inched closer to the median line. I didn't get in his lane, but he was just primed to, he wanted to fight, And so then he rammed his car into my truck. And instead of pulling in front of a police station or a busy grocery store, I pulled off on a side street and then pulled over. And, he was weaving in front of me, and, got out, and we fought in the middle of the street. And this is all because, one action of me not having patience, or thinking like, oh, this is bugging me, I have to do something about it, And so how thinking about, the emptying of the self, if I had this, the tools I have now back then, I would have avoided my suffering and his suffering, or all these people. And then I wanted to talk about a couple times where I wasn't thinking of myself so much. I was thinking of others more. And, maybe in that moment, my inherent self, I kind of lost that a little bit. One time I was in a grocery store, and I was waiting in a line, and in front of me there was a a guy that looked like he could have been a gang member or something, looked like a tough guy. And this other guy, like, accidentally cut in front of him. And they were starting to argue. And I just, and I think in that moment, I'm thinking, oh man, this other guy's going to get creamed, And so I kind of yelled, I said, hey, quit this crap. And they both like just stopped. and I don't know if that was, really skillful means, but because they could have got on me then, but they stopped, And then another time at the airport, I was coming back this last summer, coming back to the Abbey and sitting down, waiting at the gate to board the plane, and I overheard one of the stewardess that were manning the gate. There's three of them there. One of them was pregnant, and I heard a lady talking, one of them talking to security on a walkie-talkie, saying, this guy's, he's just yelling at us, and we need security over here. And then I start to notice, and there's a guy who's waving his arms, and he was like, you're this, and you're a Mexican, and you're pregnant, And I thought, I got to do something, So I thought, well, if I can put myself in between them and him, he can yell at me and I can take it. And so I did that. I stood about 6 feet away from him. And at first he was like, are you security? I'm like, no. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just here in case something happens, because I didn't know if he was going to, attack him or what, And then I wasn't threatening. I didn't, aggravate the situation. I just stood there and for a few minutes, and then finally security came and I walked away. And I'm not suggesting that people do these things, unless you're sure you can defend yourself, maybe, or something. But you never know if someone's going to have a knife or a gun. But I use this as an example of the dependent arisings that can come out if we're not thinking of ourselves, Both those situations kind of diffused, and I wasn't attacked, Not to, I'm not saying that it won't happen, but anyway, I wanted to talk about, the things that happened to me when myself was so seemingly inherent existing, and other ones when I kind of lost myself a little bit and thought of others. And I also wanted to read a few paragraphs from Jeffrey Hopkins' Emptiness Yoga. So he writes, thinking about impermanence has to be more than intellectual understanding. You have to feel it, to experience that no one could knock down this table if it truly existed the way it appears to our mind. We must root ourselves in direct cognition in order to realize emptiness. And yet, all of the direct cognition we now have is affected with the false appearance of objects and phenomena as if they exist in their own right, from their own side. Further, just waiting to come out as soon as we become involved in anything is the heavy force of actively assenting to that false appearance. First, we need to get a vivid sense of an inherent existence and then reflect on the reasoning, discovering from the depths that I cannot find such a concrete object. And this is the way, I and everyone else, unless they, have realized emptiness, view everything. I am me and you are you, and you know, I view everything as inherently existing. And then you know, if someone's shouting at me, you know, I'm me, you know, I'm solid, permanent, and so are they. So then those words, I allow them to hurt me, you know. But if I can work with my mind even somewhat, and try and more throughout the day, think that, you know, like Venerable says in her teachings this last week, you know, who is angry, who is irritated, you know. It's so helpful because it cuts afflictions off before they can even go in the story. I mean, you know, I've been here and I've been so frustrated because I want to, you know, I want to be right, and I want to, you know, I want to win, and you know, and I want, you know, want them to hear me, you know. And it's hard to do, but if I can just, you know, who am I, you know? Do I exist, you know, solidly the way I, you know, I think I do? And if I can do that more and more, I can cut that, you know, that stuff off before I get going down a weird rabbit hole with it. So